it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Welcome to Top Tip Tuesday. Now, I'm starting with pretty much a blank canvas here, and the reason for that is my tip for today is how to work out the measurements for boxes. As you know, I make boxes reasonably frequently, probably not as frequently as I should, and I've had a couple of comments from people saying they'd do more boxes if they could work out how to do the measurements. So I thought I would show you how I do my measurements. Now I am choosing something that is relatively easy to deal with. It's a nail varnish, happens to be nails ink, because that's the nail varnish I use, folks. Anyone who wants to know what my nail varnish is, and I do get questions about the nail varnish, it's nails ink. I love it. So this, as I say, is a relatively easy shape because it's square, but we'll start with easy. The principles are the same whether you're looking at something that is an easy shape or what you may think is a more complicated shape. We will be making a box for this, but I will explain how you would do the measurements for something that is less regular, shall we say. So for this, your grid paper is your friend, and I'm hoping if I pop this down here, it's just still in camera. Hopefully. Maybe what I need to do is bring in my ruler. So I have a ruler. So let's use that instead. So first thing I do is, I normally actually line it up against, I look at what the nearest measurement is that is sensible. So this is just over 2.5 inches from top to bottom. Well, 2.5 is not therefore going to be big enough. A sensible measurement would be 2 3/4. So my box is going to be 2 3/4 by, do the same again, and 1.5 inches is sensible. So 1.5 inches. Now this works just as well in centimetres, and then you need to know all 3 dimensions, and this is almost exactly 1 inch. So we'll do by 1 inch. So our box is going to end up 2 3/4 by 1.5 by 1 inch. So we don't need this anymore, well, till we need to fit it in the box, and that's where I take a deep sigh and hope it's going to fit. The only thing we then need to decide is whether we're going to have a box, or where the opening's going to be, and whether there's going to be a flap that tucks in, or whether it's just going to close flat, but I will go through both of those. So I'm going to have my box so that it's that way rather than that way. So for me, my measurements will therefore be for this long piece, so the up and down, I need 2 3/4, but then I need to go across the top and the bottom. Now this is the height, so height, that's the width, and that's the, why have I put 3? That's the width and that's the depth. So I need the height and I need 2 depths. So plus an inch, plus an inch. So if that's all I want, if I don't want a piece to tuck in, that's all I need. So I add those together. So that would be 4 3/4 inches, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 3/4 inches. Then for the bit that actually goes all the way round, I need 2 of the widths. So I need 1.5 plus 1.5 and 2 depths, plus 1 plus 1, and then something to stick it together. And I normally use 1/2 inch. If you're in centimetres, I would use a centimetre. So that will be 1.5 plus 1.5, 3, 4, 5.5. 5.5 inches. If you want your wrap to come this way, you've actually already got your 1/2 inch that you would need to tuck it in. So if you want your box to do that, then that measurement is still fine. But if you want to come this way, you would need to increase this measurement. And I will try and explain that as we go along. Now I'm going to do a box that opens at the top and tucks in. So I need to add onto this. So I've got my basic 4 3/4, but I now need 1/2 inch to tuck in. So I need to add 1/2 inch. So I need 5 1/4 inches. So my piece of card is going to be the wrap around plus the height to tuck in. So I need 5 1/2 by 5 1/4. Okay, so don't need those bits for the moment because that's when we come to decorate. So let me grab a piece of, I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo because I am using the, can't remember what it's called, All My Love Sweet when we come to decorate. So here is a full sheet of Flirty Flamingo. I don't think I've got a part sheet. I will just check, just in case. Nothing that is going to be big enough. So we will use a full sheet and grab my trimmer, and I will probably use, I think I'll use my scoring board. So I'm going to cut 5 1/4 inches off the top of this sheet, and then 5 1/2. So this, whoops, didn't cut terribly well. This is our piece to start with. Then grab my scoreboard, my Simply Scored, and let's start with the 5 1/2 at the top. So this is going to go round this is going to wrap round. So let me find that. So I've got my take your pick, and I need a side, a top, a side, a top, and then a flap, a seam if you like, if we go into dressmaking. So my 5 1/2 is at the top, so I'm going to I'm going to start with 1 inch, and the reason I'm going to start with 1 inch is so that this is a side. I prefer to start with a side. So 1 inch, then we want to move across 1 1/2 inches, so 1 1/2, so 2 1/2, then we need to go 1 inch, so 3 1/2, then we need to go 1 1/2 again, so there's our half, there's a 1, there's 5, and that leaves our 1/2 inch that we'll need. Turn your card, and then we need a 1/2 inch to tuck in, so let's grab our 1/2 inch before we start. We then need, so that's going to go down, we then need this bit, so that's 1 inch, so 1 inch, so we score at 1 1/2. We then need to do some maths for 2 3/4. Well, there's 1, 2 1/2 plus 1/4, 4 1/4, and that leaves our inch for the bottom. I hope that made sense. So then grab my bone folder and burnish everything. Okay, so everything is burnished. Now, this is going to wrap round here, and that's going to tuck there. So this is going to be our back. So this is going to be our front. So in order to have something that opens at the front, this would be your flap. If you want something to open so that the flap goes at the back, so it folds backwards, this is going to be your flap. Now, which one do I want to do? I'm going to use that as my flap. So I need all of this piece to be loose. So I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to wedge in, because this bit's going to be tucked away, and then, actually I'm going to go this way up, I'm going to cut so that all of that score line is gone, and then I'm going to cut so that I've got the score line not as part of the flap. Okay, so this will then become our flap. This is our seam, so let's get that sorted out. So we don't need this little piece at the bottom, because this is going to tuck round to there. So everything down here we can just cut straight-ish. I tend to still just wedge in a tiny bit on the sides. This is personal choice, but I think in card it looks nicer. So I'll keep the rectangles straight, and I'll wedge in on the little squares. So basically I'm just cutting away the score line. So straight there, and then cut in to get rid of the score line. I just think it gives a slightly neater finish. So that's that bit. Those will then flop in, and that will go to the front. We need little tabs. Well, let's start by separating. I'm really not describing this terribly well, am I? We're going to separate these. I don't need that at all, because that's going to be covered by this piece, so let's get rid of that. And I tend to get rid of the score line because it's not very pretty, so I will always get rid of the score line. And then these bits are going to be, you know when you've got a box and it has little bits at the side, that's what those are going to be. So we're just going to cut those basically in half, and then just wedge in very slightly. You could just corner round them, but for speed we'll wedge. And again, just wedge. And again, these could be corner rounded, but I'm just going to wedge. You just want them to be slightly wedged in. So that is our basic box. Now, you can either stick your paper on if you're using paper now, or you can do it at the end. I am going to do it now, she says, hoping she can remember where she's put the pieces. Oh, there they are, very carefully cut. I always take 1/4 of an inch off whatever the dimensions are. So this was 2 3/4 by 1 1/2. So this will sit in there and is 2 1/2 by 1 1/4. And I'm going to stick this on with snail because it's only paper and it's paper going onto card. That is fine. So pop that there. You could do 1/8 of an inch off, but I was doing 1/4 of an inch, as much as anything for speed. So this again, it's the same height, 2 1/2. This was an inch. I've taken 1/4 of an inch off. So this is by 3/4 of an inch. And as I say, I just find it a little bit easier to do it at this stage. It's also easier to line them up. Then we take another of these pieces. So again, 2 1/2 by 1 1/4. And then 2 1/2 by 3/4. There is no right or wrong way up for the paper. I'm just choosing depending on where the predominant floral bit is. And then this goes on the lid. So this is 1 1/2 by 3/4 of an inch. And that goes there. Slightly more central. There we go. Tear and tape. You can use liquid adhesive. I'm going to use tear and tape because it is quicker for a video than liquid adhesive. One piece down, grab my ruler and tear, and then actually I'll just burnish it down. It is a little bit easier to get the backing off if it's burnished down properly, and it also means you know that it's stuck. This is a box, it's got 4 sides, it's therefore square, so all you need to do is fold one side over, fold the other one over the top, and there we go. And those bits go in, that then tucks in there. That gives us the stability. So this is our front, so tuck in the sides. You can put adhesive on that flap if you want, you can put adhesive here if you want. I probably would, just so that it's neat, but again, for the exercise of speed, I'm just going to pop some tear and tape here. It's not a very heavy thing that I'm putting in, and again, for speed, I will just use one piece of tear and tape, but I would be tempted in real life to use a little bit more. That then just flaps up. We can open our box and pop our nail varnish in, and it fits as if by magic. And then obviously you can finish it off. Where are we time-wise? We're at 15 minutes. So let's finish it off. I've got a piece of Whisper White here and a sentiment from the Meant to Be stamp set. So I've got Just For You, Flirty Flamingo, because that's the colour that I've used in the background, and it's one of the colours in the patterned paper. Straight onto Whisper White. Pretty, love it. Pop that to one side so I don't lean in it. Somewhere I very carefully put, oh, right in front of me, the pretty label punch. Just for you. And grab the soon to go, I'm going to be so sad, 1/8 circle punch. If you want this, get it now. It's a while stocks last. It will not be in the new annual catalogue. So if you want it, you have been warned. Piece of baker's twine through there. Just tie that in a knot so that you've got a little tag. I do like a tag on a Prezi. And then I've got the Flirty Flamingo ribbon from the lovely, oh, what's it calling itself? It's called All My Love Ribbon Combo, which is Flirty Flamingo and Lovely Lipstick. I love this Flirty Flamingo. I'm on my, I can't tell you how many roll, but this is just so pretty. So pop that round there, go round the other side. Trying to not twist it in the process. Cut a length. I'm only going to tie it in a knot because, you know, this is really just for effect. So that comes there, goes under there. And tie those two ends in a knot, trying to keep everything reasonably taut in the process. Come on. If anyone's got a spare few hands, this is the moment where I could use them. Tighten all that up. Get it reasonably square. Give it a pull. Pop our little tag on. Yeah, no, I really do have all thumbs today. And then just tie that in a knot at the top. And there is our lovely little parcel. Could probably tie that in a bow, but I may get it tied in a bow. In fact, I'll leave those bits now, and I may get it tied in a bow for the photograph. But there you go. So I will try and explain the maths on my website, and also, oh, I've done that round the wrong way. That needs to go that side, because that's the back. I will try and explain the maths on my website, and also how I would make a box if it was closing this way, so that you've got the choice. If you're doing something that is a bizarre or less obvious shape, so here's a packet of biscuits, all I do for that is exactly the same thing. So I measure the sort of sensible size, so pop it there and just find where that is. So I would say that's probably, I'd make that 3.5, maybe 3.25, 3.25, measure there, 1.5, measure there, 3/4. So in fact, not a dissimilar size to this box, but just find sensible measurements. The only time it is slightly trickier is with things that are circular, but then if we use an embossing powder, again, just take your widest measurement. and work from that. So this actually got nice lines. You can line up and see, okay, it's going to come to there. So probably 1 3/4 inches. You know that it's circular, so that's the same in both directions. Then just measure the depth, 1 1/4 inches, and go from there. So hopefully that's been helpful. I will probably do another top tips on boxes next week. I haven't quite decided yet, but we'll see what the feedback is like after this one and go from there. Thank you very much indeed for watching. If you click below in the description bar below, you'll find the associated blog post. If you click on there, there will be more written instructions of how I do this. It works exactly the same in metric as it does in imperial, in inches. It's just a unit of measurement, and it's, as I say, it just works exactly the same. You just have a smaller unit. If you've got any questions or comments, you can either leave them in the description bar below or over on my website. If you have any longer questions, if you want to drop me an email, you'll find all my contact details over on my website. If you don't already subscribe to my channel, there is a subscription bar just down in the bottom right hand corner, or you can click on my name, the name of my channel, and you can go over and find the subscription button there. If you order from me, please, please, please use the hostess code. If you don't use the hostess code, I can't send you a share of the host rewards, and I like sending host rewards. So yeah, if your order's under £150, please use the host code, which is in the description bar. Thank you very much indeed for watching me, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye!